Hey guys, this is Animedesu, and this is a recap of The Strongest Magician in the Demon Lord's Army Was a Human Season 1. Ike is a magician in the Demon Army who has demonstrated such incredible power and talent that he has been elevated to commander in the war-torn regions in this realm. He commands his warriors on the battlefield while strategizing how to knock down the formidable fort of Arenum. Humans and monsters slaughter each other by the hundreds on the battlefield, vying for mastery over the other race, while Ike stands on a rock and observes the carnage. After a protracted battle, they finally smash through the castle's main gate and enter, but the humans do not back down, fighting fiercely and sacrificing their lives to protect their stronghold. The Lord Commander of the humans observes the action from his window, secure within the castle, when Ike suddenly decides to pay him a visit. Since he does not want to lose so many lives, the commander turns around and appears to know Ike right away since his stories are widely circulated. Ike admits that he is the leader of the 7th Legion of the Demon King Army, also known as the Immortal Brigade. He continues to offer the commander 3 potential alternatives. He informs the commander that he may surrender peacefully and become a prisoner of war. He can commit suicide to defend his honor, or, if he lacks respect, he can just climb out the window and flee. The commander smirks at him before declaring that he will not accept any of the possibilities presented by a traitor to his own people. He rushes forward with his sword to strike, but it is ineffective as Ike knocks him out cold on the floor with a single sweep of his wand. Piggy, his personal assistant, enters unexpectedly and inquires as to what should be done with the prisoners of war. Ike turns around and orders him to cure the commander, as well as anybody who surrenders without a struggle, startling Piggy and a suspiciously gorgeous woman who watches him via a crystal ball and appears impressed by his ability to conquer such an important fortress with a single brigade. After that, Ike creates a magical barrier over the entire place, preventing anybody from entering the battlefield. While looking outside to witness the demons treating innumerable human losses and injuries, he feels horrible about witnessing these horrors and has never liked the way war works, but he has no option but to battle indefinitely. Something he is unaccustomed to, because he is a human disguised as a demon. He was abandoned at birth, but a demon wizard named Romberg decided to take him in on a whim. Romberg was an incredible magician and instructor who frequently spoke about a period when humans and demons could coexist. Romberg taught him everything he knew about magic, and before dying, he summoned him to his chamber and instructed him to always wear the mask and the robe, as if the Demon King discovers that he is not a demon, he will be tortured and executed instantly. Ike sits down in the chair to rest after placing a magical field around the area to prevent anybody from entering without his permission. However, he spots a scared maid beneath the table who instantly begins apologizing and sobbing, saying she didn't see anything. She ends up striking her head on the table and passing out. As Ike wonders how to cope with the situation, he chooses to think about it later while Piggy invites him outside. They walk through the streets, viewing the devastation created by the war. Piggy questions why Ike spares so many humans. Ike curtly responds that the current Demon King is only concerned with the outcomes, not how they are achieved. However, he states that many demons believe Ike is too kindly with humans, and that it would be better if they slaughtered all of the citizens and set fire to the streets. Ike refuses to do anything like this, telling Piggy that people must pay taxes because war is expensive. Furthermore, Arsum is a commerce city, and humans are required to maintain it. The huge Piggy appears to be confused as Ike comes to a halt when a group of humans approaches. Piggy instantly cautions them and tells them to piss off, but Ike instructs them to say anything they want. One of the locals inquires as to how much more tax they will be required to pay to the demon army. To their astonishment, Ike informs them that taxes will remain the same as before, which makes them delighted. However, he cautions them that if they attempt to defy the soldiers, they will be punished. While he is saying this, he vanishes in a dazzling light, shocking Piggy. Ike is horrified when he finds himself in a dark dungeon and is quickly assaulted by a gigantic monster. He dodges the punch and flees, swearing at the unknown woman that she shouldn't have called him in like this. The demon continues to assault him, so he produces a wand from his ass and executes a specific magic strike to defeat it immediately. The lady appears alongside him and swears that she last saw him as a child hiding behind Romberg. She states that the golem was also fairly powerful, implying that Ike has become even stronger. Sapphire was Ike's supervisor and the only demon that is aware of his secret. He warns her not to call him like this, but she insists that it is more fun that way. He asks whether she's come to report on the war effort, but she declines, stating she witnessed everything and that his execution was immaculate. She ultimately admits that the Demon King wished to meet him. This surprises him because a Demon King does not need to meet with a brigade leader. He inquires about the capture, but Sapphire responds that the Demon King may only be interested in how he took Arsum in a week. She instructs him to prepare and then teleports them to the Demon King's fortress. This is his first time seeing the castle, and he is surprised by its size. They approach the main entrance, which is guarded by a horde of demons, and Ike asks Sapphire if he will be examined before entering. Sapphire responds that the Demon King is the most important person in their realm, and of course the guards inspect everyone. This makes Ike worried since he cannot let his identity known, but she assures him not to worry. Surprisingly, as soon as the guards see him, they are overcome by his magical aura and quickly step aside, claiming that they expected nothing less from the grandson of the legendary magician Romberg. They both enter the corridor and begin walking with Sapphire flying beside him. He considers how, despite knowing how to fly, he is not quite as skilled as her. They finally arrive at the courthouse where Sapphire instructs him to wait since she will enter first and summon him. While she's gone, he considers how the current Demon King, Darrow, is renowned to be both skilled and vicious. According to him, humanity were winning the fight until the current Demon King altered everything in one battle. He is known to be merciless to unskilled individuals, but he also rewards anybody who demonstrates brilliance and competency, regardless of whether they are from a well-known demon nobility or an ordinary person. Ike had been longing to see him for a long time, and he is ready to say something to him when Sapphire interrupts his thoughts and beckons him inside. He approaches the courtroom with his head lowered, but the biggest shock of his life comes when he puts his head up to find a female seated on the throne. Like any other sexist, he assumes she is the Demon King's daughter, but he quickly sees his mistake and bends down to her. She looks at him and says it is astonishing that he was able to take Arsam in just a week. Ike instantly bows down, claiming that he was only obeying Sapphire's orders. Darrow observes this right away and notes how he responds just like a person would. Ike recognizes he needs to tone down his humility, but happily, Sapphire comes to his rescue and informs Darrow that Ike is Romberg's grandson. Darrow grins, indicating that she understands where Ike gets his war tactics, but she continues to question why he is so focused on ensuring that none of the humans die until absolutely necessary. He quickly becomes concerned, thinking that he should have executed a few of them, but realizes that he cannot do it to an innocent person. He chooses to speak out, telling her that people are scared of demons, but fear does not breed loyalty or efficiency. He says that regardless of who governs the region, folks would follow someone who is competent and can assist them in improving their circumstances. The Demon King is pleased, and she instantly teleports in front of him, declaring that he is truly unique among demons and expressing her desire to see the true face behind that mask. Before departing the court, Ike quickly falls to the ground, afraid, and breathes a sigh of relief, telling Sapphire that terrible things are bad for his heart.
まだ会話を始めてさほど時間は経っていないが、おそらくロンベルクと同じく。
やはり貴様はの顔を見せてほしいものだ。
生きた心地がしなかった。こんななりをしてますが、これが仮面だってバレちゃいましたよ。
Sapphire advises him to cheer up since Darrow has decided to reward him, and he is meant to rule over the city of Arsam. He instantly teleports back to the castle in Arsam, where he discovers the maid sleeping on his chair, but she quickly rises and begins apologizing. He assures her not to worry since he would not injure her and asks for her name. She calls herself 13 and says that all slaves are assigned numbers rather than names. She states that her true name was studied before she became a slave, so Ike chooses to call her by that name solely. He informs her that she has already seen his actual identity, hence he cannot let her go. When she hears this, she rushes at him and begins weeping, but he begs her to calm down since he's not going to murder her. He informs her that she would be his personal maid from now on, and she quickly accepts. Later that day, he walks out to assess the damage to the city and knows that they must repair the fortifications since if the humans decide to strike, the city will fall instantly. He asks Piggy how long it will take to rebuild the defenses, and Piggy responds that if they utilize solely human labor, it should take 6 months. Ike realizes it's too long, and to Piggy's astonishment, informs him that they have 1 month to complete the task. Piggy believes that it is impossible, but Ike devises a strategy in which humans and demons collaborate. Piggy has never seen anything like this before, and he understands he is actually following a genius. Ike schedules shifts so that the job may be completed 24 hours a day, and the workers are even rewarded for their efforts, which encourages them to accomplish more. Piggy understands he is actually following a mastermind as he begins to shed tears of pleasure and considers how everyone would benefit if Ike became the new Demon King. Some time passes by when, one day, Ike gets the news that the Demon King has decided to put him in charge of getting information about a probable alliance being formed by the human kingdoms. During the last battle, the demons faced a sizable human army, which couldn't be from a single kingdom alone. Sadi seems to have gotten quite comfortable with him now, so he decides to take her alongside him to the nearby kingdom for some reconnaissance. While there, Sadi ends up getting distracted by a trickster, but Ike reveals that the trickster is running a scam before taking Sadi away. As they walk, they munch on some fruits, and Ike tells Sadi that he thinks the humans are definitely forming an alliance. Sadi seems confused, so Ike explains that whenever something life-threatening like the Demon King has emerged, the humans set aside their differences and join the forces of all the human kingdoms together to fight against their common enemy. According to Ike, this alliance has been made 3 times in history, And every single time, the Alliance was able to defeat the Demon King's army completely and managed to push them all the way back to their castle. She asks whether the humans will win this time as well, which confuses Ike, as she should root for the humans. But she replies that the humans have never been nice to her and made her a slave. If the demon army never invaded, she would have been like the other slave children in the cage forever. Ike realizes how cruel every single society is, and reassures Sadi that the current Demon King is the wisest and strongest in several centuries. Before they could talk more, however, a voice stops them. When Ike turns around, he spots the trickster alongside a fat goon shouting at him for revealing his tricks. Ike tells him that he was running a scam and not a trick, but the trickster gets mad and tells him that he will have to pay for what he did. This annoys Ike, who looks around to check whether anyone is around before pulling out his magic wand and using ice magic to freeze the fat goon's feet. The trickster is shocked to see that Ike is a magician, but before he could react, Ike creates a bunch of icy spears and aims them towards the trickster, telling him to apologize.
さっきカップに細工した責任は取ってもらうぞ。
それはあなたがイカ様を。
体でも払ってもらおう。
人もいないし。
なんだそれは。
The trickster thinks Ike is bluffing and starts cussing him out, but Ike stabs him with one of the spears in his arm, showing that he means business. After that, he asks the trickster whether he has any information about the happenings in this kingdom. Fearing for his life, the trickster reveals that the alliance has been made between the kingdoms, but the kingdom of Rosaria is planning a surprise attack on the demons to gain an advantage and a chance at glory. Ike thinks that it makes perfect sense and asks the trickster where they are planning their attack. For some reason, this scummy trickster knows all the details about the war plans and tells him that the city of Arsam will be attacked because its defenses are weak right now. Ike has heard all he wanted to know and leaves alongside Sadi back to their city to plan the defense. That evening, the army of Rosaria sends a battalion to invade the city of Arsam, but before they could even ready their siege weapons, skeletons start popping out of the ground. Their leader, named Ali, tells them to maintain formation as skeletons are weak, but unbeknownst to them, they walk straight into an ambush as arrows start falling on them like hailfire, while a bunch of orcs exit from the jungle and start smashing their army. Ali realizes that Arsam was prepared for this attack and that they have walked into a trap which might destroy the entire Batire battalion. She immediately calls her soldiers to form a retreating line and make sure no one gets left behind. While this was happening, Ike and Lord Jiren were watching this unfold from the walls. Lord Jiren praises Ike because without him they would have definitely fallen for a surprise attack. Before Ike could even reply though, someone shoots an arrow from behind which hits Ike in the back and he falls to the ground, unconscious. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself in bed with Saphiro, who claims that she was called by Jiren after Ike got hit and she was able to quickly heal him, otherwise he could have died. She congratulates him on crushing the surprise attack but tells Ike that even this time, the human casualties were bare minimum. She tells him that the Demon Lord might get suspicious if this keeps happening, but Ike replies that no matter what, his primary goal is to make this world suitable for both humans and demons to live together, just like Ra imagined. She tells him to take care and disappears while he calls in Jiren and tells him to figure out what happened to the commander of the human forces. Jiren replies that the commander ended up getting imprisoned by her senior officer, who claimed that she was a disgrace as she retreated from the battlefield. The next morning, Ike decides to head over to the prison where she was kept as he wanted to meet her once, but he ends up getting followed by Lily, who is his underling but way too annoying for him. He tells her to stay silent or go away, but she stays by his side as they spy on the few guards in front of the prison. She asks whether she should destroy the two men so he can go inside, but Ike responds that he doesn't want to create a scene right now. Before he could stop her though, that imbecile went ahead and beat up the guards, claiming that she didn't kill them just as he wanted. They enter the prison, which turns out to be bigger than he imagined, and he realizes that it will take much more time to find the commander. But Lily ends up beating the information out of one of the guards, who tells her that the commander is on the top floor and even gives the keys.
警備はあまり厳しくないようですね。
なるべく穏便に。
アイク様、それなら心配ご無用。
思ったより広いな。
一番上の階にいるんですって。
While they were moving towards the stairs, some other guards get alerted and attack them, but Lily hands the keys over to Ike and tells him to move ahead while she deals with them. Ike moves ahead and turns back to watch the guards getting demolished but keeps moving forward. Soon he reaches the top floor and opens the cell, only to find it completely empty. He enters inside when suddenly the commander attacks him from behind, which he barely dodges. She grabs a knife and starts attacking him again, but he somehow manages to slip by and takes out his staff before knocking her down to the floor. He lets her get up while she asks him whether he came here to laugh at her for losing or if he wants to kill her, but Ike replies that he only came to know whether she sent an assassin to infiltrate Arsam and kill him. The woman looks surprised and asks him whether he is actually a human, which catches Ike off guard. Suddenly, his thoughts are broken by the sound of guards rushing to the top floor, and the commander takes advantage of his distraction and puts a knife to his throat, asking him to tell honestly whether he is a demon or a human. Ike has no idea what to do as he contemplates if he should reveal his true identity or not. Ike realizes that he needs to do something before he gets into trouble, so he uses a special magic which slows the time around him. This surprises Alistair, who immediately realizes that something is wrong, but he tells her not to worry as it will wear off soon. He casually walks past her and towards the guards, walking in slow motion. They don't seem to be moving aside, so he uses his black wind magic to immediately blow one away before he can react. However, he gets attacked from behind by a large knight carrying a morning star. The fat knight misses the swing as Ike masterfully sidesteps him. Before the knight can regain his balance, Ike uses a gravity spell from his arsenal, forcing him to the ground. The ramp breaks under the weight, and the knight falls down. Elise seems confused, wondering why Ike isn't killing the guards when he easily could. Suddenly, the ground beneath her feet collapses, and unable to move, she falls down as well. Thankfully, Ike saves her life by grabbing her midair and carefully dropping her on the floor. He apologizes for the mayhem and introduces himself as Ike, the commander of the Immortal Brigade. He answers her previous question by stating that he is obviously a demon, as humans are not allowed in the demon army. Elise still doesn't seem satisfied, but Ike moves on and asks her once again whether she sent an assassin to kill him during their last battle. She holds her mouth shut, claiming that she is a knight of the kingdom and wouldn't reveal anything to a demon like him, even if he kills her. Ike decides to take matters into his own hands and performs a maneuver that he learned from Korean dramas. Instead of breathing on her face, he simply uses his mind-reading abilities to extract all the information that he needs. He then tells Lily that their job here is done and prepares to leave. Elise calls him out, asking whether he simply came here to make fun of her. He replies that all he wanted to know was whether she sent an assassin, and he now knows that she had nothing to do with it. He tells Lily that they are leaving while she protests, as she wanted to spend some time alone with him. Ike is done with these thoughts annoying him, so he simply opens a portal and goes through it. Elise is left puzzled about what just happened. When he comes back to his mansion, Sadie is already there to welcome him. He takes his mask off and hands her a small pouch filled with little grains of rice. She seems confused, as she has never seen this before, but Ike tells her that this is known as rice and is far easier to grow than wheat. She still seems confused, so he explains that currently every person in Arsum is a farmer that grows wheat, which is notoriously hard to grow and needs a lot of men to do hard labor for it to be sold. Compared to that, rice is much easier to grow, which means that they will need fewer farmers, and the remaining men can do other important things like becoming masons, chefs, smiths, etc. This will boost the productivity of the city and help even the poorest people in the city become middle class. Sadie is dumbfounded and still doesn't understand, so Ike tells her that they will have more food, which they will sell for more money. She finally understands the concept and asks whether he knows how to cook it. Ike looks at her and claims he has no idea how to do it. That's why he gives her the duty to try different ways to cook this grain so that they can use it instead of wheat as the primary food.
サービスを提供する人間も増え、料理人とかだな。人間が増えると。サーティ、大丈夫か？ご飯をお腹いっぱい食べられた。はい。早速この米を調理してくれ。
調理方法は
俺も自分でやったことがないから。
主人様にもわからないこと
っているのは初め。
このサティ全力で
After dealing with that, he commands Piggy to assemble his forces and goes outside to meet them in the evening. Piggy has no idea what Ike's intention is to call the entire army for a meeting. It turns out that the arrow used to shoot him belonged to the enemies, but he clearly knows that the enemy commander, Elise, had nothing to do with it. This can mean only one thing: he has a spy in his own army. He decides to use his mind-reading ability to check what each and every soldier is thinking. While Piggy keeps singing over how cool Ike is, he ends up locating one of the demons who starts sweating and worrying whether his cover is blown. Ike immediately teleports in front of him and asks whether he is the spy. He extracts information from the spy and goes on to meet with Saphiro at night. He tells her that he has found a traitor in their army, and she casually asks who it is while taking a bath. He tells her that the traitor is the veteran one-eyed goblin called Jace, who is second in command of the 7th Battalion. He claims that Jace is a war-tested commander who is smart as well. He asks Saphiro what needs to be done. She casually walks out and tells him that they need to make him pay for his treason. The next morning, he goes over to Jace's territory to have a conversation, which scares Jace, who realizes that he has been caught. Ike asks to have a meeting alone with the goblin, but Jace brings more or less an army of goblins to meet with him. Ike tells Jace that he knows about his treason and is here to deliver justice. Jace simply makes fun of him for being dumb enough to come here alone, knowing about him. He tells Ike that his army is twice the size of Ike's army and that all his soldiers will pounce on him immediately if he gives the order. Ike laughs and asks if he was anticipating something like this, which confuses the goblin commander. Suddenly, they hear an explosion. Jace turns around to see huge balls of fire coming down from the sky all over the city, putting them in a frenzy as they all try to run away in different directions. This turns out to be the work of Sephiroth, who has enough magic power to turn an entire city to dust as she keeps hurling down hellfire upon the goblins. Ike runs and hides behind a building, thinking that she should go easy on the buildings as they will have to rebuild them anyways. Sephiroth doesn't care and keeps blasting them away. While Ike appears behind Jace and gives him two options, asking whether he will die a traitor or surrender as a traitor, Jace doesn't seem too keen on either option. He orders his troops to attack Ike, but they are no match for him as he effortlessly beats them one by one. Jace takes advantage of this and starts running on top of the roofs. When a giant demon stops him and tries to punch him, Jace dodges the blow before using a smoke grenade to disappear from the building and then using a portal to escape into the forest. He turns around to see the destruction and vows to destroy Sephiroth before walking away, but a fireball blasts him to the ground. He turns around to see Ike, who followed him all the way here. Ike tells Jace to simply surrender, angry that a brigade commander is giving orders to him. Jace lunges ahead with a punch, only to get easily blocked by Ike, who tells him that resistance is futile. Ike then uses his wind magic to blast Jace into a tree before using binding magic to completely trap him.
抜け道が役に立ったぜ。今回は引いてやるが。貴様。
気つけておいたんですよ。抵抗は無駄なので。
に乗るなよ。俺は第7。
この程度の打撃は通じない。暴力。
黙れ。なんだこれは。
これでもう逃げられません。
俺が悪かった。
Jace finally realizes that there is no way he could win against this guy. Instead, he employs a different strategy and accepts that Ike is stronger than him before putting a proposal in front of him. He claims that all this while, the demons have been fighting against the humans, while the Demon Queen is simply chilling in her castle doing nothing. He tells Ike that both of them together should overthrow the Queen and take control of all the forces. Ike obviously refuses, after which Jace tries a last-ditch effort to throw a knife at him, which Ike lazily dodges. He asks Jace who else is taking part in his treason, but he doesn't reply. Suddenly, Sephiroth arrives at the scene and starts ripping Jace apart as she interrogates him for information. Ike tries to use a healing spell, but it fails. Sephiroth tells him that the poison seems to be very strong. She asks him to give her the name and promises to avenge his death, but just before he can say the name, he Dairokuten. Ike feels bad for the traitor, while Sephiroth tells him to stop being a girly little and grow a pair as she walks away from the corpse. Later that night, both Ike and Sephiroth head up to the Demon King's castle to meet Darrow, who asks what the hell is happening. Sephiroth ended up figuring out the traitor's name and tells Darrow that the traitor is Bass, the commander of the 2nd Battalion. Darrow asks whether she has any proof, and Sephiroth claims that her vice commander ended up defaulting and tried killing Ike so he could slowly gain control over the 7th Battalion and dethrone the Demon Queen. Darrow slowly raises his eyes and looks behind them, asking what Bass has to say about himself. Suddenly, Ike turns around, only to realize that the huge knight without a head standing behind them is none other than the 2nd Battalion commander named Bass. The headless knight walks towards Darrow, who asks him to repeat what he just told her in a low, growling voice. Bass says that Xiaopi and Ike killed the vice commander of their battalion in order to frame him. He accuses them of conspiring against him and says that Sephiroth probably wants to seize command of his battalion. Sephiroth is furious upon hearing this and she unleashes her magic power, but Darrow tells her to calm down. The Demon King then begins spouting philosophy about how the more power a demon has, the more they desire ambition, power, wealth, and influence to find demons. If she starts killing demons for having ambitions, she would soon have no underlings left. Darrow asks Bass to stop thinking that his very obvious plot would go unnoticed by her, and then turns to Sephiroth, saying that while she accepts her loyalty, it is partly her fault that her subordinates were led astray. Darrow then unleashes magic from her hand, stating that according to military law she should punish both of them, but she doesn't want to lose two of her commanders in the middle of a war with humans. Neither can she ignore this matter. That's why she announces a duel between the two parties the victor will live, because this is how demons should handle things. Later, Sephiroth begins getting ready for the duel and explains the details to Ike as she learned from Darrow. The duel will take place through magic creatures called puppets. The commanders themselves won't directly take part in it. Each commander will control 50 puppets, and to win, they must defeat all the puppets of their enemy. The loser will die on the spot, and the winner will live to see another day. Ike is taken aback on hearing this, and he asks Sephiroth why the Demon Lord is choosing such a roundabout way of doing things when she could just make them fight directly. Sephiroth believes that Darrow wants to see their skills as commanders. Sephiroth then says that in the duel, the commanders can send proxies to fight on their behalf, and she nominates Ike for that role. He absent-mindedly accepts her order, only to realize a moment later that her life depends on his performance. Now, Ike is nervous about taking such responsibility, but Saphiro believes he is a more skilled battalion commander than her, so sending him will be the easiest way for her to win. She holds his hands, entrusting her life to him, and those words are all Ike can think about as he reaches the arena. After that, he takes Pig and goes to the room where his puppets are stored. Ike knows that all the puppets follow their commander's orders without fail, and since they are all equal in strength, the only thing that can make a difference is the skill of the commander.
自分の命を人に預けない。
アイク様ならアイク様も十分変わり。
同類にされてしまった。
これが傀儡兵。
体ごとの能力の差はない。
なのどうやって戦わせるんです？あの武器は。ああ、それは素晴らしい。
The next day, Ike keeps reading strategy books in his office. When Sadie comes to serve him tea, he asks her what is the best way to win a battle. The timid Sadie tells him that she would rather talk about things peacefully over a cup of tea, but Ike insists that there are many who only find satisfaction in fighting and losing. He asks Sadie to hypothetically suggest a weapon, and she replies that she would use a broom. Ike agrees, saying that the greater the reach of a weapon, the more advantageous it is to secure victory. Sadie suggests using crossbows because they are powerful, easy to use, and have a long range. Ike acknowledges they are a good choice but not powerful enough. Suddenly, he gets an idea and declares that he can try creating guns that are much more powerful and have longer range. Sadie asks if he can really create something so amazing, and Ike believes Saphiro can make it happen because she is the most talented alchemist in the demon army. However, Saphiro is enjoying pool time and clearly tells him there are some things she can't make because she's never seen them before. Ike asks her what happened to her usual confidence about creating new things, but Saphiro ignores him and splashes water on him, inviting him to join her for some fun, leaving him flustered. On the other hand, Boss is also preparing for the duel. He examines a black sword made from a dragon's tooth and tells his subordinate to make many more of them for the duel. Meanwhile, Ike returns from a late-night shower hoping Saphiro gets serious about the duel. Suddenly, his coat is handed to him, and as he thanks the person who sent it, he finds it is none other than Demon Lord Darrow herself. Ike immediately kneels before her, wondering what Darrow is doing here and fearing she has seen him in human form, which might lead to his death. He thinks maybe he's safe since Darrow has never seen his face, but she throws a bundle at him and asks him to open it. As Ike opens the bundle, he finds it full of guns, and Darrow asks him if this is what he was looking for. Ike panics but tries to bluff that Darrow must have the wrong person. She tells him it's useless to hide the truth because she knew all along Ra had already told her about Ike being human. As he learns this fact, he asks why she let him live. Darrow says she wants capable people like him to help her fulfill her wish to create the world of her dreams. She sees great promise in Ike, and he pledges to serve her well. With that, the Demon Queen teleports away, leaving Ike's mind in turmoil. The next day, he shows the guns to Saphiro, who is surprised Darrow gave them to him. Anyway, she starts making lead bullets for the guns, but she has no idea of the correct size, so she makes them too big. When she starts creating properly sized bullets after Ike's explanation, an explosion creates a hole in the room's wall. Saphiro is alert because she didn't sense any magic from the explosion, but Ike tells her it was something he planned. Another one of his underlings named Fiorentina comes out of the smoke, telling Ike they prepared gunpowder just like he asked. In the meantime, Saphiro has created some bullets as well, and Ike tells her they need about 500 more. Saphiro dumps the work on Fio, saying hard work is bad for her skin.
魔王様が用意してくれました。
鉛で玉とやらを作ればいいのだな。どうじゃ？細かい作業をすると
ここに入る大きさでお願いします。
魔力の反応はなか
上出来だ、フィオレンティーナ。
あれは一体何なんですか？小石でなぜこん
さすがです。
Soon, the day of the duel arrives, and the demons in the audience are pumped up to see it. Ike stands in front of his puppet troops, who are holding just normal shields. Boss laughs at him, surrounded by his armor-clad and fully armed puppets, asking if Ike is going to fight with such underprepared troops. He puts on his helmet, telling Ike that his troops are protected by armor made of Damascus steel that cannot be pierced by swords and arrows. Bae says the steel was a gift from Darrow because she wants to see him win. Ike is confused about the Demon Queen's intentions now, but he decides to save his questions for their meeting after he wins. The duel begins soon, and Boss commands his puppet archers to shoot, while Ike commands his puppets to block. Despite using their shields, some puppets get shot by arrows, and then the spearmen under Base run ahead to strengthen their lead. His troops gain the upper hand and start bringing down Ike's puppet numbers. Boss laughs at him, calling his strategy of only defending quite boring. But then suddenly, a gunshot echoes in the arena, and one of the armored puppets falls to the ground after taking a bullet to its head. Everyone is silent for a moment as they try to process what just happened. Ike commands his gunmen to start shooting, and the sound of gunshots fills the arena as the puppets begin firing at the enemies. The armor-clad puppets fall one by one, and Base can't understand what is happening. When the first row finishes firing, they move back to reload their guns while the second row advances and fires. In this manner, all of Boss's troops are annihilated, and he is in disbelief that he lost. Darrow comes to the arena and gives Boss two options. The first is to end his life himself like an honorable warrior, and the second is to perish at her hands. However, Boss has a third option already in place. He has stationed an archer to take Darrow out. The archer fires an arrow at her, but Darrow easily catches it. To her surprise, there is a bomb at the end of the arrow and it explodes without warning, catching her in its range. Ike is worried about Darrow now, but then suddenly similar explosions take place all over the arena and the demons in the audience face severe casualties. An army of skeletons emerges on Bass's command, and he laughs as he declares himself the Demon Lord from today. The story then shifts to the past, where Romberg encounters wolves devouring their prey in a cave. He swiftly dispatches them with his magic, only to discover that the prey was a couple protecting their infant. He notes that the baby is still alive. Back in the present, Bastio's forces are in open rebellion, eliminating any demon not aligned with them. Bastio, observing from the arena, declares that his dominion has begun. Ike is horrified to witness the innocent demons being slain by Bastio's army. Bastio informs Ike that he controls the Demon Lord's forces and invites him to join his army, promising him the position of general in the 7th Legion. Ike finds the offer tempting but rejects it, asserting that he will never become the Demon Lord. Bastio mocks his refusal and surrounds him with his army, warning Ike of his impending demise. As soldiers attack, Ike deflects them with a wind spell. When they press their assault, he counters with his Dark Land spell. One skeleton even attempts a suicide attack using its head as a bomb, but Ike blocks it with a barrier. Despite his efforts, Ike remains surrounded. Soldiers hurl spears, but he dodges them while soaring through the air, unleashing a devastating death rain spell. He then swiftly approaches Bastio and blasts him with a hell blast at point-blank range. Bastio survives and retaliates, but Ike dodges the attack. Further explosions erupt in the arena, ultimately leading to its destruction. Bastio heals his severed hand and declares that such attacks won't defeat him. He reminds Ike of his Dullahan nature and the undead nature of his soldiers, who rise again. The skeletons using their skull bombs attack Ike, but he freezes them. A group of soldiers launches a combined assault, only to be thwarted by Ike's physical attacks. Yet the unending horde continues to close in on him. Bastio explains that his army possesses endless combat capability and that no matter Ike's skill, his magic reserves will eventually deplete. He laments the loss of such a valuable asset and muses about the benefits of having Ike on his side. The archer from before attacks with a powerful bomb, partially breaking Ike's barrier. Bastio, surprised by Ike's survival, anticipates this outcome from the commander of the Immortal Brigade. He calls for an end to the battle, as the result is already predetermined. Ike, realizing his magic will soon run out if he continues to cast spells, strategizes. He recalls that undead beings are immune to dark magic. An idea strikes him, and as the demon soldiers charge, he casts a spell emitting a golden light which annihilates the attacking demons. The demons nearby are also wiped out. Bastio, confused and bewildered, has no idea what Ike has done. Archers attempt to fire again, but Sephiro's army arrives, dealing with the remaining rebel forces. Piggy and Lilith also participate in the battle, with soldiers eagerly welcoming Lilith's unique fighting style. Sephiro approaches Ike, informing him that the rebels outside have been defeated. Bastio, surprised to see Sephiro, worries about losing in a 2-on-1 battle. The Demon Lord assures him not to worry about Sephiro and focus on Ike. Bastio is shocked to see her alive. Sephiro offers Bastio another chance at survival, promising to spare his life if he defeats Ike in a duel. Ike, confident in his ability to handle Bastio, faces him. Bastio attacks, but Ike defends with a barrier. Bastio repeatedly slams his sword against the barrier, boasting of his superior strength and blaming the Demon Lord for Ike's current predicament. He arrogantly demands Ike beg for mercy. Ike then dispels his barrier and leaps to attack Bastio. Bastio counters with a beam, but Ike deflects it with his golden spell, severing Bastio's hand. Sephiro, taken aback, realizes that Ike is using white magic, questioning how long he has been able to wield it. She notices that the Demon Lord isn't even surprised by this. Bastio charges towards Ike. A flashback reveals Ike as a child, gazing at a wilting flower. Romberg finds him and inquires about what he's doing. After Ike brushes it off, Romberg takes him inside to teach him magic. We see Ike practicing and successfully casting a spell. He asks Romberg if there's a spell to revive a withered flower. Romberg explains that such a spell exists but belongs to the realm of white magic. Ike expresses interest in learning this magic, but Romberg discourages him. Ike is supposed to be a demon, learning curse magic instead of white magic. He points out that white magic is difficult for demons to use, as it stems from a heart of mercy, a trait demons are not supposed to possess. Romberg knows Ike has a human heart, but warns him that white magic can be more dangerous than any weapon. He urges Ike to keep his knowledge of white magic a secret if he manages to learn it. Ike understands and agrees. Romberg takes him inside to teach him white magic. Back in the present, Ike counters Bastio's charge, even breaking Bastio's sword. He states that becoming the Demon Lord was too ambitious a goal for Bastio, and that he can't forgive him for sacrificing his subordinates for personal gain and attempting to betray his master. He acknowledges that this might have been the right course of action for a demon, but he still disapproves. He asserts that a world where people trample on others to reach the top is wrong. Bastio, enraged by Ike's words, tries to remind him of his place, but Ike silences him with a white magic spell called Holy Light of Destruction, purifying Bastio and leaving only his armor behind. Saphiro inquires if Romberg taught him this magic, and Ike confirms it. She expresses relief that he won the duel. Ike realizes that she anticipated everything from the beginning, which is why she had him represent her in the duel while she dealt with the rebels. Saphiro believes that with Ike's victory, there shouldn't be any problems. However, the Demon Lord reveals a major issue: Bastio's rebellion has left the 3rd Legion without a general, and Ike will be responsible for this. Ike is confused by her statement, and she commands him to become the general of the 3rd Legion. This proposition surprises him. The Demon Lord leaves, giving him time to consider the offer. Ike reunites with the Immortal Brigade soldiers, receiving a warm embrace from Piggy, who is overjoyed to see him safe. Lilith, jealous of their closeness, believes she should be by his side instead. The scene shifts to Saphiro talking to the Demon Lord, stating that she, as Ike's superior, should have the authority to manage his appointment. The Demon Lord is surprised by her disapproval of his promotion, reminding her that Saphiro is her subordinate, making Ike indirectly her subordinate as well. Saphiro asserts that Ike belongs to her. As Ike enters the room, the Demon Lord declares they should hear the answer directly from him. She asks him if he has made his decision, and he reveals that he has. The scene then cuts to Ike and Saphiro leaving the castle grounds. Saphiro is frustrated, not understanding what's going on between Ike and the Demon Lord. She asks him if he revealed his identity to her. Ike urges her to speak quietly, as the entire world would learn his secret if they were overheard. Saphiro calmly inquires why the Demon Lord wasn't surprised by what he did and wonders what's going on between them. After the meeting, Ike stands over a vantage point overlooking his city, thinking about how he can achieve his dreams. His assistant comes to check on him to see if everything is okay. He informs her that all is well and has just discovered that the soil and climate of the town are conducive for a farming system known as the Norfolk system. It allows different crops to be grown without allowing the fields to rest. Later that day, he demonstrates the technique to the rest of the villagers, and they are all happy that with Ike's idea, they will never go hungry again. As he does some paperwork that evening, he is served by the maid and congratulated on his promotion to vice commander. Jiron suddenly barges in to inform Ike of trouble regarding the Alliance of Kings and their movement. They began their assault the night prior and easily took out the 2nd Corps of the Demon Army tasked with taking over the city of Alesa. Jiron is especially concerned because a corps well known for being bloodthirsty and having skilled warriors was defeated that quickly. Sadie doesn't know what the Alliance of Kings is, so Ike explains that it is an agreement by humans to come together and destroy the Demon Lord's army once it becomes too much for one nation to handle. Anytime this has happened, the Demon Army has always taken an L. By looking at their movement, the city of Aeolus, which is under Ike's control, is their next target if they want to reclaim the strategic location of Arsam. With everything considered, the humans hold the advantage when it comes to numbers and teamwork. Though the demons are strong in one-on-one combat, that isn't enough to defeat the humans. Once the demon army falls and has been taken, the battle will be pushed all the way back to the Demon Lord's castle in Doberg. If this happens, Ike's dream of cohabitation between humans and demons will go up in smoke. However, Ike has a plan to incapacitate their overwhelming numbers, and his idea involves the guns. He later has a meeting with the person involved with mass-producing the weapons, and she informs him that building the firearms with alchemy is impossible because they break after only being fired once. Alchemy has a limit when it comes to precision, so if it were to be used to mass-produce the weapon, the power and durability would be terrible. Saphiro doesn't understand why they can't just use magic, so Ike explains that it will cause mass destruction, which will then make it difficult to rebuild. He wants a fight against the Alliance with a weapon anyone can use. The lady in charge of the operation suggests that the only way to mass-produce will be to build the smaller metal and wooden pieces by hand, which will be difficult. She suggests that they ask for help from the dwarves, who are master craftsmen. However, ever since their defeat against the humans, they have been scattered around the place, so gathering a large number of them to mass-produce the firearms will be a difficult task. The only way to achieve this will be to rescue the Dwarf King, who is currently being held captive by the humans.
錬金術で火縄銃の錠も真似たものを作っ壊れてしまいます。錬金術だと
確かに 威力も弱いな。
本当に必要かの？
量産は難しいですが、族や木でできている部品を。
ドワーフのことを言っているの。
ドワーフなら可能かもな。
We get a flashback to how they lost to the humans who wanted to use their technology to fight in wars. They were ultimately forced to work for the humans or else they would have lost their lives. The rest were forced into exile while the king was kept prisoner. He sits in his cell wondering what happened to his people and what they are up to. His peace and quiet are disrupted by laughter, and when he looks outside his cell, he sees the guards knocked out on the floor. This is the doing of Lilith and Jiren who have come to rescue him. He is confused by all of this and demands to know what is going on, but Lilith knocks him out because he is making too much noise. Though Jiren is against her actions, he picks the king up and they make their escape. After clearing through some guards in the corridors, they emerge from underground to find themselves surrounded by a few guards. The duo was told to be discreet by Ike, and not to eliminate anyone, but Ike can see from a distance that they have attracted a lot of attention. He puts an end to the chase by casting an earth spell that blocks off the soldiers. They take the king for him to rest up, and when he regains consciousness, he wants to know why they took him out of his cell. Ike presents him with the weapon and asks if he can make another one of them. Though the dwarf has never seen the likes of it before, he is confident that it can be replicated despite its complexity. But he refuses to help them because he believes that the demons have the same objective as the humans. However, Ike informs him that his dream is much different. He isn't looking for world domination but rather aims for humans and demons to live together in peace. When he hears this, the king thinks that Ike has lost his mind. But Ike takes him to the city, where he can see for himself how the demons and humans are working together in harmony. Even though the king is inspired, he still holds a grudge against the humans who used his people and then destroyed their home, leaving them to wander around the world. So, he would hate to see the humans living in peace. Ike understands his resentment, but proposes that if the king can help him with the production of the weapons, then he will tell the demon lord to rebuild the dwarf kingdom. The king is offended by this and thinks Ike is mocking him, because to rebuild a nation requires people. And since he has lost his people and family, his kingdom can never be rebuilt. Ike shuts him up and takes him to a location where a number of dwarves have been gathered. He even sees his son named Batson, and the others are very relieved to see their leader. We come to learn that the king's name is Gunther, and they tell him how the demons have been very kind to them and how they brought them all together. After seeing all of this, Gunther agrees to help the demons achieve their dream of unity with the promise of their kingdom being re-established elsewhere. At the camp of the humans, they receive news that the demons took the dwarf king. The general finds this to be an interesting move, but isn't too worried since he doesn't see the old man as capable of doing anything. Someone comes to report that they have 500 forces at ALS, however. More soldiers will be joining them, so that number should increase. In their current location, the general has an army of 12,000 men. After hearing this, he says that it's time to get going elsewhere. Ike goes on an exploration mission with two comrades to locate materials for the war. They spot the cave and enter to find the natural saltpeter they are looking for, after which they return to the city where the dwarves are hard at work producing the weapons. Gunther presents what looks like a finished product, and it looks good. As more are produced and stored away, Jiren oversees the training of a few goblins on how to fire the weapon. When he sees the damage, he is pleasantly surprised. The rest of the demon army are also gathering, and the leaders of specific groups have a meeting with Ike. One of them is surprised that Ike managed to fix the gate in such a short period of time and wants to know the type of magic that was used. However, Ike informs him that it was all done in shifts with the help of paid labor by the humans since it is more effective than enslaving them. One of the other leaders arrives late and crashes through the ceiling. He greets the rest and acknowledges Ike's promotion, addressing him by his new title of Vice Commander.
Tama komero! Kamae!
シフト制を敷きました。
この短期間で縄文を人間に報酬かどんな魔法を使ったのだ。
あとは人間にも報酬を支払う。
働かせるよりも効率がいい。のけじめはきっちりつけ副団長。
The meeting begins, and Commander Saphiro has put Ike in charge of the battle, so everyone is to follow his orders, to which none of them object due to their immense respect for him. Although they are outnumbered by 10,000 men, Ike has a plan. One of the leaders suggests that they attack at night, but the vice commander explains that this wouldn't work because it is confirmed that their enemies have mages amongst them who are capable of using light magic and detection magic. Ike suggests that the battle should be fought in his city. His philosophy is that although a large army is even stronger when things are going well, they tend to collapse very quickly when things are against them. He wants the enemy to attack the city so that when their morale is very high, the demon army will annihilate them completely in one swoop, which will result in minimum casualties. After the meeting, Sadie and Jiren clean the place. She tells her master that, although she cannot fight, she can help prepare for the upcoming war. She wants to be able to feed the soldiers good food rather than just soup. So, Ike shows her a recipe for fried rice. The girl goes into the kitchen and whips up the rice in record time. When she presents it to Ike for tasting, Jiren and Lilith come in complaining that they were going to eat without them, so both of them are also served a bowl, which they all enjoy. Apart from Ike, who will eat his later since he cannot disclose his real identity. After everything has been prepared, a lookout stands on a tower and spots the enemy, so his unit alerts everyone. Night comes, and both armies have gathered and are ready to engage. The human general is disappointed by the small number of demons. They are so little that he doesn't consider this a war, but rather a termination. The order is given for the battle to begin. The human foot soldiers charge while the boulders and huge spears are launched towards the city. However, Ike erects a magic barrier which protects them all. They keep repeating this, but Ike's defense doesn't budge. So the human mages are summoned to cast a spell that dispels the barrier, resulting in the demons suffering casualties. Now that the magical wall is down, the human unit fully charges ahead. However, when they reach the front, they are met with a huge demon that flattens them with enormous boulders, which puts fear into some of the humans. But the archers retaliate with a number of shots that take out the giant. It turns into a long-range battle between the two, so the humans aim to get closer by deploying ladders to scale the wall, but they keep getting pushed back by the demons. The human general can see what is going on and would like to end the battle quickly before dinner because he likes to have his food in peace. So he tells his army to fire the catapults again. Even though his men are at the wall, his right-hand man tries to protest, but the general stands firm. The projectiles are launched, and Ike's magic is immobilized again, leaving everyone open to the incoming fire. This time around, the damage is more significant as it has left a hole in the outer wall and completely crushed both enemy and ally. The general orders his second unit to charge forward where they clash with the demons. Back at the fort, Ike thinks that he was surprised by the speed of the humans' attack. However, he believes that he is going to change the tide now. We then see Sadi taking care of the wounded, and seeing the state of the war, she hopes that Ike is alright. Afterwards, we see Lilith fighting the humans and being overwhelmed by the sheer number of soldiers attacking her. The other demons are also overwhelmed, and the piggy prepares the gun squad to make their move, but he is afraid of hitting his own men in the state of disarray. The werewolf battalion, led by Bio, then joins the battle, taking down the enemies one after another. No human stands a chance against them as they try to increase the number of soldiers facing a single demon. This is when the gun squad starts firing as well, and the humans try to block with their shields, but it's no use, the bullets pierce right through them. This takes out many of the human soldiers, and the humans are scared to see the weird weapons. They fall back, and the werewolf battalion tries to chase them down, but Ike calls them back. Bio is disappointed at this, seeing the current state of the war. Fiorentina remembers their strategy meeting, and we find out that Ike told them they need a quick and decisive war. He mentioned that they need to end this war quickly and with as few deaths as possible. The Ogre Battalion leader named Gamus liked this idea, but the leader of the Fang Beast Battalion wondered what Ike's plan was. Ike told them to just do their best in the battle, and Bio wondered if Ike had started to think less of them since he had become a vice commander. Fiorentina told Bio to calm down and listen to Ike's explanation first. Ike then asked Bio how long he could fight with all of his might. Bio stated that he could keep going at full power for 1 hour. Ike thought this was impressive, but he was sure that his battalion members wouldn't be able to fight for this long. Bio told him they would only be able to last for less than half an hour, and Ike ordered their battalion to fight with all of their might for 10 minutes and then withdraw from the battlefield. Bio was not sure if 10 minutes would be enough, and Ike noted that it would be. Back in the present, we see some soldiers trying to enter the breach in the wall, but Fiorentina uses her alchemy to create some demon spikes and close up the breach. She thinks that everything is going according to plan. The Ogre Battalion then breaches the wall to attack the humans. They literally crush the humans with their might. Fiorentina is not happy with them breaking the wall since she just fixed it. She thinks that Ike did say that their allies not following the plan is also part of the battle plan, and the Ogre Battalion kills the humans without any hesitation. The human army fighting them retreats after seeing their strength. While Ike was explaining the strategy to the others, he mentioned that Gamus would show up after Bio's battalion retreated. Bio angrily wondered if this meant that Ike didn't trust them, but Gamus realized what Ike was thinking. He explained that Ike wanted them to fight the war in shifts, just like what he did while repairing the gate. Ike told him that he was right, but the dim-witted Bio still couldn't understand what they were talking about. Ike told the brute that their fighting strength would decrease as the battle went on, but if they took turns fighting the humans, it would make the humans distracted and depleted. Meanwhile, they would be able to exert their full strength at all times. Bio thought this was very strategic. In the present, we see that Gamo's battalion is still fighting the humans who have yet to retreat. One of the humans manages to get past them and scale the wall, trying to attack Fiorentina, but the piggy takes him down. He advises her to keep up her guard. The story goes back to the strategy meeting once more. Bio asked Ike if they would be able to defeat the entire human army, as numerous of them were attacking the city. Ike mentioned that this is where Fiorentina's alchemy team and the Piggy's gun squad would enter the scene. They would load the enemy troops and limit the range of their attacks. Fiorentina realized that they needed to lure the enemy closer on purpose, and Ike asked her if she would be able to handle this as it would be the most challenging part of the war. Fiorentina agreed to accomplish this mission even at the cost of her life, but Ike forbade her from risking her life like this. He told everyone in the room that the purpose of the strategy is to minimize their casualties and asked them not to forget this. Back in the present, the human army readies their catapults to attack the demons, but as soon as they try to fire, their catapults are destroyed due to some falling rocks. We then find out that they are under attack by the fanged beasts, and the leader of the fanged beasts remembers that Ike told them to act as a guerrilla squad and destroy the enemy's catapults and other long-ranged weapons. They understood, and Ike explained that according to his scouts, the number of human army soldiers exceeds 12,000. There are reserves to back them up as well. The demons found this annoying, thinking there were too many humans in the world. Ike then explained that the human general hails from an honorable family with a lengthy history and prioritizes his own safety and reputation above all else. Fiorentina realized they needed to vanquish that general somehow. Ike told her that the general would surely take action if they could change the tide of battle in their favor. He mentioned that he would find out where the general is and capture him. Bia wondered why Ike wanted to just capture him instead of killing him. Ike told them to leave this matter to him and refrain from taking action without permission. They agreed to trust him, and he thanked them for this, mentioning that they were going to win this war.
隊長、カタパルト準備整いました。
化け物どもに目に物見せてやれ。
The story then returns to the present, and we see the Fanged Beast Battalion still dropping stones on the humans. The Piggy is happy to see Ike's plan working so well. Fiorentina hopes that Saphiro is also unharmed and remembers that Ike told them Saphiro was going to take part in this battle. He mentioned that another task had been assigned to her, which might be the most crucial mission of all. Back in the present, we see Saphiro keeping watch on the reserve forces of the human army. She can't believe she has to run errands, even though she is supposed to be the general. She then notices the commander of the reserve forces and thinks that he looks delicious. At the fort, we see the demons mopping the floor with the humans. The humans are bewildered to see this as they are supposed to have the numerical advantage. The human general is then informed that their forces have breached part of the wall, but the enemy is not letting them advance further. The second and third squads have almost been wiped out by them. Hearing this, the commander advises the general to withdraw as continuing this battle might turn out to be dangerous. The general orders an all-out attack instead, but the commander advises against this and thinks they need to rethink their strategy first. The general orders him not to talk back and mentions they should just send more men if 2 squads are not enough to fight the demons. He explains that he will lose face if he can't even take over such a small city and mentions he will join the battle himself to boost morale. The commander has no choice but to listen and orders the soldiers to prepare to attack, informing them that the general will also be fighting alongside them. Hearing this, the soldiers get pumped up and march towards the fort. The Piggy is surprised to see them coming in full force despite just losing 2 of their squads. He wonders if humans don't feel scared. Fiorentina informs him that they are just stupid. The Piggy wonders how they are going to put an end to this, as it could go on forever if they don't have a plan. Fiorentina mentions that the time has come for them to act. The advancing human army is then stopped by a crack in the ground. Many of their soldiers fall into the crack and die. The others realize this might be the work of the demon mages and wonder what their magicians are doing. We see that the demons have captured them. Fiorentina then wonders if this was Ike's magic and thinks it's astonishing. The human general wonders what happened, and his horse is alerted by a powerful presence nearby, so it runs away, leaving him behind. The general then notices Ike in front of him. Ike tells him that their army has suffered a lot of casualties, and to determine his position, he states he is going to make him take responsibility. He mentions that everything should be finished if he kills him, and is sure that after his demise, his army will withdraw and blame their loss on him. Ike offers to spare his life if he orders his forces to retreat immediately. The general thinks Ike won't dare to kill him as he needs him to order the retreat of his soldiers, so he acts smug. The Dwarven King then attacks the general with his axe, and the general falls to his knees after the attack. Gunther wonders if the general remembers him and states he is going to take his revenge for that day. He tries to land the finishing blow, but Ike stops him with his magic. Gunther wonders what Ike is doing. He states he is going to kill this guy but can't break through Ike's bindings. The general understands his current situation and begs for mercy as he doesn't want to die. He orders his soldiers to retreat, and all of the human soldiers fall back. Seeing this, Gunther thinks they are surely going to return one day and mentions he is grateful to Ike for saving them, but that he will regret letting them go. Ike thinks this doesn't matter as they will be stronger by the time this happens. The demons are delighted at their victory. They are happy to have defeated an army 10 times larger than them and decide to drink to celebrate. The piggy then hugs Ike in happiness over their victory, and Ike tries to get him off, but he doesn't listen. Lilith then also tells the piggy to let go of Ike and return to her rightful spot by his side, but the piggy doesn't let him go and clings to Ike as well. Sati then arrives at the scene and also joins them. She states that she, too, lent a hand in the battle by healing the wounded. The three of them try to get Ike all for themselves, and Ike asks them to stop, or they will strangle him to death. Elsewhere, we see Sephiroth facing off against the reserve forces. Their leader decides to fight her himself, but before they can start the battle, he notices their army is retreating. Sephiroth thinks he is really lucky and mentions she will see him again sometime. They retreat with the rest of the army. Sephiroth then thinks she expected this much from Ike and declares that it's better to act soon, but leaves this decision to the Demon Lord. Ike looks at the aftermath of the battle. This is the end of The Strongest Magician in the Demon Lord's Army Was a Human Episode 8. Thank you so much for staying on this channel and watching our videos. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can keep you updated with our latest content. See you in the next video.